Hi, everyone. I'm here to provide a recap of the Saratoga 2024 Jim Dandy Stakes. Fierceness prevails. Yeah, fierceness with the good fierceness, bad fierceness, good fierceness, bad fierceness pattern. Due to fire be the good fierceness, and the good fierceness did show up and prevail in the Jim Dandy Stakes. So what is up with fierceness? What's next for fierceness? Beginning with the recap. The race lived up to its billing, a very exciting race, despite only having 6 entries. The opening favorite, 1-1 favorite, Sierra Leone, gets the rail this time, the big-time closer in the race with the solid numbers, never finishing off the board. And the rest loaded with speed. Loaded with speed. You had Seize the Gray. You had Batten Down. You had Pony Express, number 4. And then, of course, you had Fierceness, the other speed. So you have 4 big speeds, and the 5-horse really didn't have the numbers, right? He just kind of had a running style where he could kind of stalk the pace. Maybe he could sneak into third if all the speed broke down. So you have a 4-horse speed race, potential speed duel, and you have the big-time closer, Sierra Leone, number 1. So gets hammered down. Everybody figures, yeah, the speed's going to break down, opens the door perfectly for Sierra Leone. So what happens in this race? 6 entries. Fierceness breaks well and actually was on top for a few seconds, gets a good start. And one thing about Fierceness is this. In all of his losses, he had trouble, some sort of problem in the gate. Either at one time he was pinballed, which means bouncing off other horses. Another time he hopped at the start, say in the Kentucky Derby. So yesterday he got a very clean start. And the other speed, the Pony Express, the number 4, took off and actually gained control of the race on top. No real sign of Seize the Gray or Batten Down, the other 2 speeds, early on. And as expected, Sierra Leone was running dead last, always there, and looks to make his patented move. And he does get the rail, so it's not going to be one of those cases where he bears in from the outside. Now he's stuck on the rail, right? With his usual style, he's over there to begin with, so he's not going to be causing trouble with everybody else. So they go around the race, and Pony Express, the 4, leading the way, Fierceness stalking from second. As they're entering the far turn, Fierceness starts making his move. So those of you who think Fierceness needs to be on top leading the race to win, that's not the case. So he was just like the Florida Derby. He was running second for a while, and this is almost a replay of that as far as him making his move on the turn. So he makes his move on the turn, puts away Pony Express. So now Fierceness is on top. Now, as they're coming around the turn, off the turn, you see Sierra Leone, as everyone expected, no surprise to anybody, starts making his move. But now, since he broke inside, he has to come outside to he finds his hole. So he has to move off the rail, come outside, finds a hole. And right now, the Batten Down is running second. He gets by him. A little confusion there between the two of them for a second. And Fierceness moves to the outside, who's now leading, right? Because I guess he figures the jockey was looking around. Johnny V was looking around. Where is Sierra Leone? And he sees he gets his hole, and he's now moving towards the center of the track. So Fierceness moves to the outside. Brilliant move by Flavian Pratt. Not that, Sierra Leone comes in, catches up to Fierceness, and they start banging into each other when he bears in Sierra Leone. So he's outside, and now Sierra Leone bears in, so it goes to the rail, right? And Fierceness is now on the outside, closer to the center of the track. I tell you what, from that camera angle, the way they were showing it, it looked like Fierceness had fallen behind at one point, and it was trailing. I was like, holy crap, he's going to fold. But the camera angle was misleading. It turns out that Fierceness never lost the lead. It was just the way it looked on camera. And so Sierra Leone makes his run up the rail, and Fierceness keeps motoring and starts to actually inch away. I guess I don't know if he had another gear or they were both slowing down, and Fierceness was slowing down less. And he starts to ends up winning by a length over Sierra Leone, who ran a tremendous race. No excuses there. And those of you who wonder, well, what if Sierra Leone had the extra quarter of a mile? He would have caught Fierceness. No, because Fierceness was starting to pull away. The good Fierceness showed up, who has better numbers than Sierra Leone by a mile as far as pure races when he shows up on his game, when you consider different data, whether it be the buyer figures, the sheet figures, prisoner figures. Anyway, Fierceness turns around and prevails in the race. And nice job by Sierra Leone. And Chad Brown had no excuses. And he was hats off to Fierceness. He was happy with his horse. So where does this leave Sierra Leone? Another fine effort, finishing second only by a length. Now, out of all 4 of Sierra Leone's losses, total losses, 2.5 lengths and 2 noses. That's what separates him from being undefeated. That's how good Sierra Leone is. So keep an eye on him. I tried to look up, where does that leave Fierceness now? As he's the defending 2-year-old. He was the 2-year-old championship, the Eclipse winning 2-year-old last year, won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Where does he stand now as being the top 3-year-old? I checked for the standings. They haven't updated the standings yet for the top 3-year-old. It had been Sierra Leone, and Donark had inched ahead of him in the standings. It was still pretty tight. Mystic Dan was still around. Now, where does that win put Fierceness as top 3-year-old, considering he won the G1 Florida Derby? Who knows? But what's up next for Fierceness moving forward? They talked with Mike Rapoli, who was absolutely thrilled. I think they all practically tackled each other, him and his crew, after the race yesterday when they crossed the finish line. And they said this, Mike Rapoli, and they're not sure if they're going to turn around and send him to the Travers. What's it going to take for Fierceness to now win the top 3-year-old and possibly Horse of the Year? Is that too far of a reach? We'll get to that in just a little bit. What's next for Fierceness? The Travers is not an automatic, and Rapoli said he's going to, talk with Todd Pletcher, see how Fierceness comes back after the race, and make a decision from there. Because what happened was this: after the poor performance in the Kentucky Derby, he got a bad start, but is that really enough of an excuse? Because he was around for a while in that race. What's next? So he says it's not an order. He's going to consult with Pletcher and see how Fierceness comes back from the race. And he scratched, remember, in the Belmont for the Belmont Stakes run at Saratoga in June. He was scheduled to race in that race. And they saw the horse really hadn't rebounded yet. Wasn't 100% right. Didn't look like a happy horse. The way he was in the stall. They said, were other horses up there getting ready for the race. They had their heads out of the stall, and people were feeding him carrots and whatever. And they say Fierceness, didn't have his head out of the stall. He was kind of like towards the back of the stall, facing the back wall. And didn't look quite right, happy, on the track, walking around. So they said, you know what, let's scratch this horse. So let's pass on the Belmont Stakes and move him forward. So a month after the Kentucky Derby, Fierceness was not ready to go, at least in the eyes of the connections. So the Travers, that'll be just about a month away, just under a month away. And in Rapoli's words, he said, I don't want to, bring him back and have him run 5th, 20 lengths back. I mean, that does no good for anybody. So he said, we'll see what happens. So if they decide to enter him in the Travers. But another option is, so keep an eye on that. But he goes, I'd have no problem sending him there. Mike Rapoli, a very aggressive owner. And they're going to have to hold him back, but he says he'll listen to what Pletcher and everybody else has to say regarding the physicality of Fierceness as they approach the Travers Stakes, the crown jewel of the Saratoga meet, and a race that carries a ton of weight for top 3-year-old. So if he would go up there and somehow run in the Travers and win the Travers, I think that would be enough to vault him to the top of the 3-year-old standings. And no matter what he did for the rest of the year, even if he didn't win the Breeders' Cup, probably be enough for him to hold on to top 3-year-olds, unless one of the others goes into the Breeders' Cup, say a Sierra Leone or a Muth from Bob Baffert or Mystic Dan. I think Mystic Dan, did his damage already. But unless one of the others went to the Breeders' Cup and either probably won the Breeders' Cup or came in second, that might be a door knock, for example, be enough to get them top 3-year-old. But so the Travers, is that really a big deal? The other route, if Fierceness passes on the Travers, you have a very big race. It's worth a lot. The Pennsylvania Derby in September. That would give Fierceness plenty of rest going in, almost close to 2 months. Get ready, win the Pennsylvania Derby. Now that puts him still in the mix for top 3-year-olds because he still has the Florida Derby, he has the Jim Dandy, and now say he wins the Pennsylvania Derby. At that point, then Fierceness would likely have to win the Breeders' Cup. Is that impossible to take top 3-year-old? Is it enough to take Horse of the Year? I'd have to look at what other outstanding for. Yeah, it's not going to take a Horse of the Year. You got National Treasure, who's dangerous. That horse has really exploded onto the scene. It has that great early speed. I don't know if any of the 3-year-olds could beat National Treasure moving forward. And you're still going to have the Japanese horse to contend with as top 3-year-old too. If they'll probably bring that one in for the Breeders' Cup. It's been cost prohibitive for them to bring him over here for any other races. Maybe they'll bring him here for the Travers. Who knows? But as far as the Belmont's at stakes, that wasn't enough. So that's what they're looking at for Fierceness right now. Either the Travers or the Pennsylvania Derby. Is the Breeders' Cup a tall order? Yeah, I think it is. But Fierceness, he ran a 103 buyer figure yesterday, by the way. So good showing. Not his greatest buyer figure, but a return to form of the good Fierceness. So you want to win top 3-year-old of the year without having to win the Breeders' Cup? Fierceness's best shot would be the Travers. And so we're going to have to wait on that for a while. We won't know anything about that for at least a few weeks. Because I doubt any of these other 3-year-olds are going to win the Breeders' Cup. and when it gets down right down to brass tacks, the only 3-year-old with a shot to win it, as far as pure speed figures goes, is Fierceness. And the one coming back to Sierra Leone who would have the best shot to win it with his closing style offers the next best shot at any of these winning the Breeders' Cup. And again, I doubt any of these 3-year-olds get it done in the Breeders' Cup. So Fierceness, where he goes from here. Travers, we're going to have to wait and see how he is physically. Otherwise, Pennsylvania Derby for Fierceness. And we'll see then. We got a ways to go to even talk about Fierceness being entered in the Breeders' Cup. So if you enjoyed this video, feedback always appreciated. Hit the like button. And if you'd like to know about more upcoming videos in advance, hit the subscribe button and the bell that goes with the subscribe button so you know in advance when I release new pre-recorded shows or have upcoming live shows. Share this channel with your horse racing friends if you think they'd like it. Thanks for watching, everybody.